From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
What the hell?
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, we kind of have a Renegade Express mailbag. We kind of do not. Jordan Travis abruptly retires. We reflect on the career of one of the greatest quarterbacks in Florida State history and how great of an example he truly was. And huge baseball series. Will the bullpen finally find its form? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it. Take it. Actually, I won't drink it. Apparently, somebody thought we were eating and burping on the show the other day, Corey, which I take great umbrage to. We're pros.
We wouldn't do that.
We're dialed in when we're doing this show because most days I have a half shot of vitamin energy coursing through my veins, improving my focus. Some days the mood, you probably can tell when I'm in a better mood than other days. It's probably because I didn't take the vitamin energy mood. Shame on me. Shame on you for not trying this stuff if you haven't done so already. You can do it by going to vitaminenergy.com. Checking it out. Remember, it works faster and longer. There's no sugar crash. 260 milligrams of all natural caffeine. I try to say that so fast sometimes that it just sounds like a wall of verbiage coming at you. So I apologize. I'll slow it down, everybody. VitaminEnergy.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Come on home, everybody. Some exciting news also out there. On 3, our old haunt, our old stomping grounds, rivals.com, Corey. Apparently, we're partnering up. We don't have a lot of details to share with you folks at this time, other than the fact that we are going to be enhancing the value you have as a member of warchant.com here in the months to come. So join now, don't be a fan later. But yeah, we don't have a lot of other details we can share. They sent us this whole big FAQ, frequently asked questions, and they're like, feel free to share all of it, just don't post the entire thing. So not trying to be evasive on anything. I don't have like a lot of other big details, but it does sound like, Corey, that we're not going to be like, I don't think this is like a money grab to increase our membership fees. It's going to be actually giving you folks better services, better content. So you're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome.
Corey, how are you, my friend?
Okay. Had a busy Wednesday.
Too busy, some would say.
Yeah, dermatologist appointment.
How are we? Clean?
That all checked out, I think.
Nice.
A quick reminder, in 2021, I did have skin cancer, so I'm always trying to, anytime there's a weird little blemish or spot that comes up, I go and get it checked out, so seem to pass that. Stephanie has some drama with one of her cats that's been sick, and have to go take them in for some more tests. Took them in for some tests on Wednesday. Have some more on Thursday. Hopefully there's good news there. But as you can imagine, she's a little distraught about it. And then we got a Pearl Jam later on today. And then a Braves game Friday night. Then coming back for the rest of the Clemson FSU series. So big, busy weekend.
Man, what is it like to be Corey Clark? We need to just do a vlog on you. Like on a week like this, we should have done a vlog. Just embedded Corey Clark, everything. You waking up, transcribing the interview with Mike Norvell on Wednesday, going to the doctor, bugging your phone when you're on the phone with Stephanie. And we could have made some really compelling content, but we didn't.
Well, that's all right. We'll get it next time.
Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about the takeaways, I guess, from Mike Norvell's press conference from Wednesday later on the program. Obviously, Renegade Express mailbag. We're not going to probably get to all the questions, everybody, because of so many things that have happened over the last few days here. Namely, I think the news that came down on Wednesday, which our own Irish O'Fell hinted at this to me and to you, I think, weeks ago, maybe even months ago. But the news became official on Wednesday after Jordan released a statement, and Adam Schefter also followed up with a report. Jordan Travis, Florida State great, legendary quarterback, fan favorite for so many people, maybe on some people's Mount Rushmores if they're like under the age of 30 when it comes to Florida State lore. Apparently that catastrophic injury that he sustained against North Alabama has caused him his football playing career. He announced his intentions to retire effective immediately. It does sound like he is well positioned to have a nice, healthy life financially and physically. I just don't think he'll be able to obviously play football on this leg, Corey. And I don't know if it just if it just picks at the scab from the snub even more, or if we just can look back and reflect and appreciate just how awesome he was. Just what kind of emotions were you feeling, I guess, when you saw the news drop on Wednesday?
Yeah, kind of sadness. and grateful too that what he did for this program, for our jobs, for the people listening to this. Like, he injected some joy into a fan base that hasn't had a lot to be excited about over really the last decade. I wrote, the people, by the time you're listening to this, there'll be a column up that I wrote about him. And, look, I don't write this lightly. He should have his number retired because of what he meant during that stretch. I'm not saying he's one of the best players in school history. He's one of the best quarterbacks, which should count. But what he did coming out of COVID, coming out of that darkness from Willie and then Jacksonville State, really the end of Jimbo to Jacksonville State, with COVID in the middle, was as dark a period as you could ever have in Florida State sports. Until 2024. But what he did in between 2024 in that darkness of Jacksonville State deserves all-time recognition. Not just, man, thanks. We'll put a brick out there for you. Like, this was as important as like Peter Boulware. And Peter Boulware was great. NFL All-Pro, easily consensus All-American, sack record holder. Obviously, on paper, a much better player, a much better football player than Jordan Travis if you want to look at career accomplishments. But impact on the program, I don't know that you could make an argument that there's, in the last 10 years, there's been anybody close.
Oh, no.
Than Jordan Travis. And I looked up the numbers for the column, Aslan, and this isn't going to take anybody by surprise. In the 38 games that Jordan Travis started or played the majority of the snaps in, Florida State was 29-9. The other 22 games, they were 4-18. 29-9, Mike Norvell's record with Jordan Travis as his primary quarterback. 4-18 when he isn't. Now, that's an indictment maybe of the head coach, but it's also more of a celebration of this guy and who he was. It's just an unbelievable and also just an unbelievable representative of the school. An all-time great person or teammate. You look at Twitter when he announced his retirement. Man. I mean, it came flooding in from everywhere. Jared Verse had a great post. Trey Benson, Kenny Dillingham, Keziah Holmes. Like it's just really remarkable the impact he had. And it kind of gets. I hate that his impact is kind of intertwined with the snub, because that was complete nonsense. It had, I don't think, really anything to do with his injury. I think they were going to snub Florida State no matter what. But that was a great built-in excuse. But I hate that that's what's going to be the – I guess I just don't want that to be the lasting memory of him, is him writhing around, Trey Benson having to look away, and him being carted off that field against flipping North Alabama, down 10 points, which is still utter absurdity. But so I don't want that to be I would like his last moment in Doak Campbell Stadium to be seeing his number retired. Not doing the chop as he's being carted off the field and everybody knows he's out for the season. And look, he was a 5th-round pick. There has been a precedent set for retiring quarterbacks' numbers that are 5th-round picks.
Correct. Here
recently. So, and Jordan Travis damn sure deserves his number retired more than Shedeur Sanders. So if Colorado can do it for their 5th-round pick that went 13-12, Florida State can do it for the guy that went 29-9 and basically authored. He didn't win the ACC championship, but he was the reason they were there, the biggest reason they were there anyway, and won that game. So sadness, I think that, and I was hoping he'd be able to get to play, get to try in the NFL. Unfortunately, it reminds me of his brother. I mean, his brother at least got to the major leagues and was a really good hitter for about a year, and then injuries caught up with him too, and that's just a bummer. It's a bummer that his leg didn't heal right, but I think he's an all-time impactful Florida State Seminole, and I hope he's celebrated accordingly.
Very well said, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Wasn't necessarily feeling sadness. I mean, for me, I think he would have been
just a reminder of the stupid injury.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? It just brings that all back. Those emotions of that night, it brings it back.
He just would have. I think if he would have had the chance to play at the next level and like carry out what I think was like his fate, which should have been, it would have been just this massive story to the entire world. Like people that even weren't Florida State fans, I think high school coaches would have showed Jordan Travis as this example to their football players. Moms and dads would have showed even more so than I think. He's a Florida State possession. He would have been like a national treasure, I think, had he been able to get on the mend from this injury, because I mean, he was an afterthought on a 7-loss team. He got recruited over by a guy that was physically not nearly whole. Right. And then he sticks it out in an era where he had every opportunity to leave and turn his back. And golly, I bet you he's totally underpaid versus what every other peer of his right now is making in the college
Think
football.
about what Carson Beck made. What do we think he's making? $3 or $4 million?
Yeah, somewhere.
The kid that just left Tennessee is going to make $3 or $4 million at UCLA. Jordan Travis was getting a fraction of that. Yeah. And look, it was a different landscape back then. They weren't paying that kind of money even 2 years ago. But what a deal that was. What a bargain. And look, I meant to bring this up yesterday. When there's a lot of animosity towards NIL, and I understand it. But the Jordan Travises of the world are the reason that I celebrate it, that I celebrate in certain aspects of it. I don't celebrate paying a high school kid $1.2 million to come to your school when he hasn't done anything. But by God, Jordan Travis deserves some money. Because think of Mike Norvell makes $10 million a year because of Jordan Travis. And Jordan Travis is going to get his books paid for? Come on, man. Like, at least he made some money. He got, I think the rumor was, I don't know, it's speculation, like NFL minimum in 2023, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he at least got some money for being good at college football. Just like there's a lot of guys, like the kid that's going back to UConn, the big white center. Sorry, I don't like to identify by race, but he's the big white center that plays at UConn. Basketball. He might not be good enough to play in the NBA, but he's a really good college basketball player. His coach is a gazillionaire. He deserves some money. I like that they have an avenue to get paid, even if they're not going to be big superstars at the next level or even at the next level at all. So I do like that Jordan Travis got some money, but because he deserved it, right? That's the poster child of why NIL is a good thing. Now, there's a lot of poster children for why it's a bad thing. But Jordan Travis, right, is kind of the guy that says, yeah, this is what it should be meant for. Guys like that might not play at the next level, but made so much money for every coach on that staff and so many other people at the university. Right,
that's right. Yeah, and I hope whatever insurance policy he's going to pull from, whether that was something that he had here at Florida State or something when he went to the pros, I mean, that's what's going to end up being able to give him like a nest egg for the rest of his life. I hope that we also footed the bill for that.
Yeah, and I also hope that he is involved at Florida State in some capacity.
I can't imagine he wouldn't be.
I mean, I want him here tomorrow. I want him a part of this program. Yeah. I think he needs to be a part of this program. I don't know what he wants to do, what his goals are. I don't even know if he wants to get into coaching. I would force him to get into coaching.
I don't want to slander my own environment, but does he want to live in Tallahassee?
What does that mean? Of course he does. It's a lot cheaper than New York.
I'm saying, like, maybe he wants to be in Palm Beach. He just wants to be down in South Florida. So
that's true. That's true.
No, I'm saying, like, I want to be around the program, too, but that obviously involve him, like, having to live here, which, hey, I live here, too. I own a house. I like it here. I just, maybe he just didn't see himself being back here in Tallahassee at age 25. But who knows?
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
Amen.
Tow cars, you get an assistant.
Or maybe Tow Cars is his assistant.
Yeah, exactly right. Flip that script.
Alex Caravan, by the way. Wow, he's going to go back, to UConn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Good for Dan Hurley.
Well, and I just like that college basketball even more so because there's only 2 rounds, and half of them are foreigners. Listen to me.
What's with the
xenophobia? But they're foreign-born players that did not play college basketball.
Yeah.
So, there's probably only 40 college basketball players a year that get drafted. Maybe 50. I might be overshooting it, but it's not the NFL where they're all, except for the offensive lineman from the South Sydney Rabbitohs that was drafted a few years ago. It's not like college football. The NFL draft is all college football players. The basketball isn't. You only got about there's only 40 guys that get drafted, and not many after their sophomore years. So if you're a senior that's good, like the Baycott kid at North Carolina last year, or the Davis kid at North Carolina this past year, R.J. Davis, you may not have an NBA future. You might not even make a team. You might not even have a G League future. But you mean a lot to North Carolina, and you can help them win games, and they care. So go get paid to play for them. You've also proven you can do it.
Please start showing some respect to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Their player is Jordan Mailata, who's a starting tackle for your NFL Super Bowl
champs. That's right. Is that true?
Yeah.
Come on. Well, who's their O-line coach? kid plays rugby and is now the starting offensive lineman for the Eagles. Bring him over.
He is listed at 6'8", 365.
Wow. Yeah, go find some of them.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about NIL. One of our first questions comes from a brand new person here on the Ponies, our guy DJR Star. Let's see his stats here. He's been around since November 11, 2024. Only his 5th ever post. Wake up. That's one for you, Corey. When will we be able to openly talk about what pay for play looked like before the NIL era? Did every successful team have a bag man where head coaches kept out of the loop most of the time? Were any big programs truly clean? How much of recruiting prowess was really just hidden NIL? I knew about little things here and there through inside sources at other programs when I was a student at Florida State in the 90s, and I remember some of the cars in the parking lots back in the day. He says P-Dub was driving a black Cadillac Escalade. I'd love to hear Corey talk in general in terms about his thoughts on this. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think back in the day, so I went to Georgia, and yes, there were football players that drove nice cars. I think it wasn't so much of like, hey, here's $30,000, go get you a Dodge Charger. I'm talking, 90s prices, everyone. Too. I don't know how much a Dodge Charger costs now, but because I haven't driven one in years, Aslan. But I think it was more like, hey, go to our dealership, go to our Dodge dealer in Athens, and he'll get you a nice deal.
It starts at $60,000. Sorry to interrupt you, but God, I know everything's getting expensive. $60,000 starts at a Dodge Charger. Carry on. Sorry.
So I think you got good deals on stuff like that. I think your parents got jobs. I think that there were handshakes. I do not think, the rumor was that Emmitt Smith got paid to go turn the water on at the football field, and that was a full-time job where he got paid thousands of dollars to do it. Thousands of dollars. And again, this is 1988. But the point is, it's been going on. Nobody, and I include the 2013 Florida State team, the 99 team, the 93 team, everybody up until, I don't know, man, 1950? There's always been some shadiness with amateurism. The Alabama players for Bear Bryant were not all choir boys, and they all didn't just come to school to play for the great Bear Bryant. There were deals made or just handshakes from boosters. Hey, man, great game today. Here's $100. Here's $1,000. I have no idea how much, I don't know, man. I don't even want to name a Hines Ward. I'll keep it with Georgia, or name an LSU player that was really good back in the day. Somebody like that.
Davey.
There you go. There you go, Rohan Davey, Jamarcus Russell. I don't know how much they got paid.
Marcus
I know
Spears.
it wasn't $4 million.
Yeah.
I think it was like they all had deals set up at these schools where they would be taken care of, quote unquote. But it was taken care of like, hey, man, you get an apartment. Like the Reggie Bush stuff.
There's bars you were told to go to because you would be able to drink for free. Like one of my buddies played ball at Syracuse, and like they were told, you can go here, you can get free food. You go to this bar, you can drink for free too.
Or you get a nice apartment that you live in for free because the landlord is a Nole. Yeah. Or the landlord is a Gamecock, right, or a Horned Frog. And he's going to let you live in a nice apartment, or you're only going to have to pay rent once a year for $100 or so. I don't know. Yeah. Like the Dillards is a perfect example. Those are the hookups.
Yes.
The Dillards from 1999 that cost Peter Warwick a Heisman, cost Lavernius Coles a spot on the team, who ended up being pretty good. Lavernius Coles and Randy Moss, two pretty good receivers that got bounced from this program. They bought $400 worth of clothes and paid $20 for it. That's the kind, in my opinion, and maybe I'm naive, but that's mainly the kind of stuff that was happening. $100 deals, maybe into the thousands, maybe into four figures, not seven figures. But that's the actual accounting of it all. I would be stunned if any players in like the 80s or 90s or even in the 2000s were getting tens and tens of thousands of dollars every year.
Can I read you the lead from Sonia Steptoe entitled Anatomy of a Scandal?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. Is this Foot Locker?
This is Foot Locker.
Oh, man. Wasn't that Don Yeager, too?
I think so.
I thought Don Yeager was a part of that one. Anyway, go ahead.
The most brazen episode was a mid-season two-handed shelf-clearing 90-minute shopping spree by members of the Florida State team that would go on to win college football's national championship. Running shoes galore, team jackets of all colors, dozens of hats, t-shirts, shorts, and gloves, winter coats that the players could wear to South Bend for the big game against the Fighting Irish. Some $6,000 worth of merchandise in all, armloads and armloads, large cartons crammed full, every item purchased on the credit card of Raul Bay, a Las Vegas businessman who was in a loose partnership with a street agent named Nate Sebron.
And then
$6,000, Corey.
Derek Brooks was part of that. Corey Sawyer, I think, might have been part of that.
Yeah.
Some starters were a part of that.
Corey
and then remember, tainted title, right?
Correct.
Tainted title, right? Because of a Foot Locker shopping spree.
$6,000.
Think about how outrageously stupid that is. That a $6,000, even if it was a $15,000, split up among 8 kids or 10 players. So about less than $1,000 each, these guys, and it's a tainted title because Lord knows Nebraska wasn't doing that stuff. Notre Dame wasn't doing that stuff. It was just Florida State that got deals like that. And then, so that's why when we come back to NIL, man, like how stupid, when you listen to that now in 2025, dear listener, how stupid does that sound? That Sports Illustrated ran a magazine cover with a Florida State helmet that said tainted title, and it was about a Foot Locker scandal involving $6,000 or $7,000 worth of merchandise. When now players are getting $3 and $4 million for one season of football, it's preposterous. It's just so stupid. So the NIL, we're in the Todd Gurley missing 4 games as the tailback at the University of Georgia for signing autographs and getting paid for it. It's just stupidity. It was stupid, and it was completely unfair. It was completely, quite frankly, un-American that they couldn't make money off their names, or they couldn't go get gifts because they're famous. You know, it maybe not un-American, but if Foot Locker is willing to give them that stuff, why is that a crime? Why is a guy buying players gear from Foot Locker a crime? Why does that taint anything? So it's just funny looking back from the perspective of here we are 30 years later. And all the pearl clutching that went on in the 90s, that went on with Gurley, that went on with this thing and that thing, and it's like, y'all, we're all so stupid. But now, I'll be honest with you, maybe I'll look like a pearl clutcher 30 years from now. I am clutching my pearls a little bit about this nonsense.
Oh, I am, yeah.
The story that came out on Wednesday that the budget for Texas football for their roster is going to be in the neighborhood of $35 to $40 million is their salary. That's their salary cap. Texas football, $40 million. And we're talking about 30 years ago, tainted title, $6,000. Come on. Anyway.
30 seconds, could you please? Over under 9.5 players on this current roster making more than whatever you assume maybe Jameis was getting in ancillary benefits.
Over. I don't take 30 seconds.
I want to vomit.
I think the selling point with Jameis, and look, man, I don't know anything about anything. Truthfully.
But we assume, but we just, we can.
I mean, you would assume, because you would assume the same thing with Mariota. You'd assume the same thing with, Trubisky.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
Joe Burrow. You assume all that. But I really do think, and I'm not naive enough to think that it was just straight up, hey, I want to go play for Jimbo. But Jimbo could sell him. Look, man, you're going to make $20 million because you'll be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to get you there. You know, that sells itself when you've had 3 straight first-round picks. So that playing the long game, it would be idiotic especially at that time, for Antonor and Jameis to say, you know what, I know Florida State, I know Jimbo produces first-round quarterbacks, and Alabama never does. I'm talking about 2012 now, folks. Their quarterbacks throw 11 times a game. Nick Saban doesn't like to throw the ball. But I'm going to go there because they offered me $100,000. Like, how short-sighted would that be? And I don't think they were short-sighted. I'm not saying that Florida State didn't have some nice things to offer these players back then when they were landing the number 1 classes in the country. But hey, maybe they didn't. Remember how fired up Jimbo got when Nick Saban claimed they spent $3 million on that signing class? So maybe he is on the up and up. And he just said, hey, I'm going to make you a better football player. That's all we're offering.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill over at 2475 Appalachia Parkway, the place to be all days of the week. Tonight, though, bingo night. 4 opportunities to win $250 in cash money. It's bingo. Just get the right card, get your dauber, and sit back and win. Also enjoy some live music this weekend, a little bit later on, I think, at night, so it won't interfere with your happy hour crowd. It's going to be 11:05. They go on at 8 p.m. Live music at the CP. Get the Corey rap while you're there. Ask them to put it on the Florida State Clemson game if you can't make it to Hauser. Lots to watch.
Oh, yeah. Also some live music on Saturday night, Aslan.
Yeah.
I got the
11:05.
11:05. Yep, Saturday, May 3rd at 8 p.m. So just to clarify, so the baseball's game starts at 6. It'll probably be over by 9. You get to celebrate a big Seminole dub, an important dub, by the way. They need to rack up some. These next 2 home series are huge as far as hosting purposes. So hopefully they win on Saturday, and you come afterwards, you celebrate at Corner Pocket the big win, and you get to listen to some good live music.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Sip the juice. Wednesday, we got Mike Norvell for like 25 minutes or so almost, Corey, feels like. Long day. A lot of typing from you. What were your big...
Well, not a lot because the feed was horrible. And it was choppy and it was in and out, and I could catch every other sentence. So I would rather you carry this part of it because I'm not quite sure who he was talking about half the time.
I was zoned out, brother. I just hit record and then I just
great.
Days off.
Well, hey everyone, go listen to another podcast.
Well, people were talking about the audio, like the audio on the video that I uploaded was off. And listen, like I go up there, I put my headphones in, and I listen to like the first 15 seconds of Mike. I'm like, all right, sounds good. Then I put my headphones away and I go sit down because what could possibly happen in 15 seconds? But yeah, I think even our feed, you could not hear the questions at all. And I know like a lot of people complain, like I can't hear the questions, and sometimes you people are complaining a little too much about that sort of stuff. But like you literally could not hear anything. It sounded like guys were under the water asking the questions. But then I go and listen to the Seminoles.com feed, and it sounds immaculate. But I'm guessing they probably did something post-production wise.
Well, yeah, because the live feed, all it did was chop. It was choppy in and out. It was a horrible connection. You couldn't. It kept buffering. It was not great. So I did the best I could.
All right, well, I think
I thought it was interesting what he talked about with the wide receivers.
Okay, yeah, so that's probably one of the top line messages was, he did not seem phased at all when having to talk about the wide receiver room, which is crazy because he's like, we were over the numbers there, but apparently they're not at running back because everybody stuck around. Right. They definitely have one coming in down the pipeline from Lee County, and they're also pursuing other prospects in the portal. But yeah, for anybody that might have thought that, big loss. I don't want to diminish Hakeem's loss, but I don't also want to make it sound like, well, hey, you keep losing all these wildly talented players because we don't know that's the case. But it definitely seems like Mike was bracing for making some cuts, especially in that wide receiver room. Or maybe Tim Harris is like, I can't coach these guys. I need some other dudes.
Yeah, so he said, and you look, I take Norvell at his word here. He didn't specifically say, okay, this guy left, this guy left, this guy left because we asked him to. But he did say they were over the numbers, and he said we had to have tough conversations, which leads you to believe that people were told to take it on down the road. Now, did they do that with Hakeem Williams? I don't know. They definitely did with Jalen, but I think Jalen was also the arrest.
Yes.
Had as much to do with that as because he was talking up Jalen all spring.
He was.
But that could have been a tough conversation. Like, hey, dude, you're not worth this. You're not good enough. You're probably not going to even start. And this is an embarrassing look for us. And sorry, this is your strike. And we'd like you to go somewhere else. That could be the tough conversation he's talking about. But I don't think I give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's not like putting on a brave face or sour grapes, like, oh, we didn't want Hakeem Williams anyway. Mm-hmm. But I do think he's not that fazed by it. I think that he had seen what we had seen, that Hakeem was not apparently going to take that next step here. He better hope he doesn't go to Colorado, which is where he signed, by the way, and have 70 for 1,100 next year.
I highly doubt that.
I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? By the way, so I thought they were loaded at wide receiver, Colorado, this past year, and those other two main guys, other than Travis Hunter, both were like 7th-round picks. So that was a little surprising. I thought like Jimmy Horn, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but I thought they'd have been drafted higher than that because they looked plenty good to me in those games.
The other guy's name escapes me. And Florida State was in the mix for that kid, but then he went to Ole Miss, but then he left at Ole Miss, and then he resurfaced at Colorado.
But I thought it was interesting that he said they were over the numbers, but that I don't think that I do think they won another one. So who did they lose? They lost Hakeem, Jalen Brown. Who was the other one?
Well, Destin earlier in the
Destin. I thought there was another one that left. Maybe
Jordan Scott.
Jordan Scott. Yeah. So I think Jordan Scott was absolutely like, "Hey, man, no, we tried it. You're not going to play here. Please move it on down the road." I mean, I don't know if they actually cut him, but take it on down the road. And I don't know if Jordan Scott has materialized anywhere else. And if he hasn't, it's like, well, I mean, they took a shot on him. He got a spring to prove if he was a Division I college football player, and at least by Florida State's judgment, he isn't. So he might go prove him wrong. But, I just thought that was interesting that he admitted that it didn't seem like he was upset at all by any of those departures from the wide receiver room. But also, I mean, he also said that the tight ends, they got tight ends, so that makes them diverse, so they can be guys that are pass catchers. I'm still not sold on that position at all. I do think they need someone else. But hopefully whoever they bring in is better than Jalen Brown, Hakeem Williams, or Jordan Scott.
Also, he talked about, I guess, big picture. It sounded like he was really happy with the way they practiced. Admitted, obviously, that around practice 10, they did not have a good day, but they, ended up responding. And it sounds like he was really happy and pleased with the way they practiced this spring, but also admitting that, obviously, they did not bring it every single day. But on the whole, he was excited. And then, he also was asked about Marquiston and the emotions, I guess, of going in the portal, not going in the portal. He's happy to have Marquiston around. Doesn't seem like there's any friction there. But then also, Ira, shout out to Ira, who's carrying the day on that press conference, because I'm still in self-imposed exile until the Miami game.
Right. Okay.
But just kind of ask him about how tough is it now to not be able to lean on kids. All right, we can hold on to them because maybe year 4, year 5, that kid will materialize. But those kids want instant gratification. They can also move freely. And then you as the coach also really can't wait. And Mike, I thought, was pretty forthright when talking about, like, he realizes they have to win now.
Yeah.
Which, I guess it goes without saying clearly, but for him to kind of outright admit it has to make you feel a little bit better that not only does he realize it, but he wouldn't say that he realized if he didn't feel that they were ready to respond to that standard, or at least that, marker in time in his career here.
Yeah, and they got another offensive lineman in the portal on Wednesday as well. The kid from Rutgers.
Yeah.
One-time
Tennessee commit. He's a true freshman. Like he enrolled early at Rutgers, went through spring and left them. So he hasn't played any football anywhere. He was originally committed to Tennessee. I mean, the kid's got a good frame on. It's definitely one of the better. If you look at him just merely as a high school recruit, probably like the best offensive lineman they've had, at least like recruiting wise, numbers wise, since probably maybe Armella. I know Jonathan Daniels was
Lucas Simmons was pretty highly thought of too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of came on a little bit later, but like, Jonathan Daniels was like he was a 5-star at one point, then he dipped. But I think Lucas Simmons kind of built off the fact that Florida State had given him an offer, and Florida State was building something, it felt like. But continue.
Well, hopefully it works.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like, I like the fact that, look, this new staff got in here. They didn't have a ton of time to get kids from the high school level. But, again, everybody's a free agent every year. So they saw this kid, or this kid was interested in them, hasn't played any college football. Well, okay, man, but I like signings like this, especially in the spring portal, especially when you think you've got your starting front already solidified, that backups that can learn from your veterans. And you have veterans that can teach, man. Hopefully Herb Hand obviously can teach and coach, but you have guys that they can learn from, and it's depth. And it's depth that, he's a true freshman, so he's probably not going to play this year unless something goes wrong. But again, it's osmosis, learning to be a pro. They're all pros now. Learning to be a pro from a guy like Gunnar Hansen or Pettis, like how to carry yourself. Like all this, instead of going and getting this kid next year when he might have played 100 snaps for Rutgers, and you're taking a chance and you're like, maybe he competes. Now you'll know what you have. You get all of August, you get the whole fall to work with this kid to know if he's going to be a starter for you in 2026. This is how programs build and sustain themselves. They can't all be 1-year rentals out of the portal. Some of them are allowed to be 3- and 4-year rentals. Some of them are allowed to be good. So hopefully this guy will be good. Yeah,
this feels like a pretty true high school recruit. So,
yeah.
And also, I don't know, I almost reading into it a little bit in terms of like maybe Herb and Gus don't have their eyes already on their next stop if they're going to if this is what they're focusing on, because the spring window right now, this is mainly about looking at your roster right now, adding additional pieces so that you're successful this year, but they're also clearly here planning for the future. I want to read a quick quote from Toms River North head coach Dave Ostrowitz. He's who coached this young man whose name is Jalen Matthews. Quote, the thing about him that's different is he plays through the echo of the whistle. Sometimes he gets himself in a little bit of trouble, but he's violent and vicious and wants to put the guy through the ground. Okay. A lot of time with big people, you don't find that. He truly believes he can be the best offensive lineman in America in his class.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. That's exactly what I love. You just got a corner out of the portal that thinks he's the next Dion, and then you got this lineman that wants to put people into the earth. Good. You need mean people on your football teams. Mean people on the field. Go be great citizens off the field, everyone, but you need mean dudes on the football field and guys that believe in themselves and want to be great. Not just want to be at Florida State, but want to be great. Did it look to you, Aslan, like those two defensive ends last year wanted to be great?
Not particularly.
No, man, go get people that are great, that want to be great. Didn't look like any of the receivers wanted to be great either. The ones that got on the field. So, yeah, the offensive line clearly wasn't great. Even if this kid ends up being nothing, even if nothing like as a Florida State Seminole, not in life, and goes somewhere else. I just like that's a personality you need. You need to infuse a locker room with.
All right, back to the Renegade Express mailbag. Again, we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Our guy Dalvinism, wake up. Do you think the success of the 26 recruiting class will play a role in whether or not Norvell is retained? For example, we all assume he's safe if he wins 7 games. What if he finishes 7-5 and the recruiting class is outside the top 20 at the end of November? Would that change the decision? I haven't thought about that. There's some guys, right, that get to hang on because they've got, I think, Napier, not just last year, I think like the year before there was some rumblings, but it was like, hey, he's got this Lagway kid committed. Let's stick around, see what they can become, these two guys. I haven't thought about this variable to things. I think it would affect a lot of coaches, but I don't know how much it's going to have effect on Mike's future if they go 7-5.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. I think the reverse could be, like, if they wanted to I don't think that if he goes 7-5 and has the 21 recruiting class, I don't think the 21 recruiting class is going to be the nail in the coffin. Yeah. It's going to be the 7-5. But on the flip side, if they wanted to fire him after a 7-5 season, but somehow he had the number 3 class in America coming in, well, that could be a job saver. I don't think it's a job killer because I think when it comes to firing a coach, I think it's almost always predicated on the results of the season, not what's coming in, especially in this world, because he could always just say, yeah, I know. We've got 14 high school commits. We're going to go get 20 guys out of the portal. And we're going to have the number 1 portal class in the country, which is more important anyway. Let me cook. Offered, let me get my guys here. Quit bothering me about the kid from Key West High School. I don't care about him. But so you could always make that judgment. But I do think that it could save you. Like I've made this comparison a lot. People have heard it a lot. But I think Leonard Hamilton would have been fired back in whenever that was, the Beasley-Bacon year, because they didn't make the tournament. They brought in Beasley-Bacon and Terrence Mann, didn't make the tournament. They had like a 7-game losing streak. And then Beasley bounced. But he had Jonathan Isaac coming in the next year. And Jonathan Isaac was the highest rated recruit they'd ever brought in. He ended up being a lottery pick. And I think that the allure of him, and knowing that if you fired Hamilton, you lose Jonathan Isaac, it was worth hanging on to Leonard Hamilton to see what that looked like. Even though he's probably going to be a one-and-done, which he was, he also got a year with Dwayne Bacon. And XRM, I think, was on that team, too. They knew they had some talent, Terrence Mann, obviously. So they had 3.5 NBA players on that team. And they ended up making the tournament. And then that started that next success. I think if Jonathan Isaac wasn't in the pipeline, I think there's a chance that Hamilton gets fired back then. And then it's like, well, I mean, I was going to say, look what you would have missed. But his all-time best team didn't even get to play in the tournament.
Lots of recruiting questions. I feel like everyone has had their run about it. I still have not listened to headlines. I'm going to listen to that on the drive over to Jacksonville this weekend. Looking forward to it. I like it when there's a lot of angst on the panel.
But from Ira, too, man.
Yeah, right?
He's done. He's off. He's off the Norvell bandwagon.
Because I feel like some people said you were a little bit critical, and obviously Ira was a little bit critical on.
Well, Ira was
Smash.
a lot critical on the Smash. Yeah. He kind of like just blew a gasket, talking about how they didn't get the Thomas County Central kid.
Yeah. Cam Brooks.
The Cam Brown.
Brooks.
Is that his name?
Cam Brooks.
Yeah, sorry. Cam. I call him Cam. Thomas County Central, Charlie Ward's alma mater, Jabril Smiley's alma mater.
Anthony McLeod?
Yeah, Ant McLeod from Thomasville, so 30 minutes down the road. Kid that wanted to come to Florida State, has always been a Florida State fan, I think, presumably, and 4-star recruit, and he chooses Cal over Florida State. And just the stuff Ira was hearing about the way they recruited or did not recruit that young man, he kind of lost his mind about it. Not in a bad way. I shouldn't say that. Like, he rightfully criticized, like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? This is part of the job. How do you let this kid get away? That you go to California to get Blake Nicholson. No offense, Blake. But you don't go 30 minutes up the road to get a 4-star recruit and you let him go to Cal? Like, it's a bad and plus you want to keep a relationship with that program. That's a really good Georgia program that's been pretty good to Florida State over the years. I just mentioned a Heisman winner. So you want to keep them involved and invested, and you don't even recruit their best player, and you let them go to Cal. Now, there's a lot of days till signing day. He could always flip, but Ira, was very, very upset with the way they handled that and the things he heard about that recruitment.
Yeah, our guy from last week who won Generating Discussion sparked by Cummins, Bennett-Knoll exclamation point. This is a financial ploy to get more money out of other teams this fall, in my opinion. He will not stay with Cal. So many podcasters, he's not saying us, other podcasters that he listens to, are stuck in the 90s recruiting mentality, which is outdated by today's landscape. As the old saying goes, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. People need to stop walking on eggshells. It's all about show me the money. Do you agree?
No, I don't think. And I'll say this. Let's just use numbers. Let's say Cal offered him $100,000. Florida State was only offering him $60,000. I don't necessarily think that like you have to match every offer for every recruit. You can't live that way.
Right.
I mean, at some point, and I'm saying this, like, but if he liked the coaches, if he had a relationship with the coaches, then getting less money wouldn't be that big a deal if he liked his coaches and believed in what they were doing or believed that they believed in him. But when you don't hear from those coaches, I shouldn't say no matter what they offer you. If they offer you more money, you're probably going to go there. But you were allowed to get discounts, and if you showed this kid the respect that the Cal staff did, and he's 30 minutes down the road, then, maybe you don't have to pay whatever Cal's paying to get him to come to Tallahassee because what would it cost you, Aslan, if you were a big-time football recruit? How much more would Cal have to pay? And you lived in Thomasville. Yeah. Or let's just say Tallahassee. How much more would Cal have to pay you to go to Berkeley, California, where good luck making $100,000 work out there. Right. That'll get you through a month. So going there and playing in that program that has never accomplished anything, or going to the same conference, much better program, close to home, and near all your family and friends. How much more would they have to pay you?
Yeah, more than double. I mean, like if Florida State gave me $300,000, I'd need probably at least like $1 million.
So that's the point I guess I'm trying to make is I don't think Cal is breaking the bank on this kid.
I wouldn't think so. They know the deal too, how tough it's going to be to hold on to this kid. They're not going to over leverage themselves on one kid in Georgia that is kind of on the fence.
Yeah, but it's a fair point because it's like and I made this point I don't think they did a good job with this kid, clearly, from the stories that I was heard and relayed on the Smash and on headlines. Doesn't sound like they recruited him hard at all, kind of dropped the ball. That's not good. You still have to recruit high school kids, especially the ones that are in your area. But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, but what is the most important thing? A relationship? Production at the NFL level? Money? Like, I feel like money trumps everything else, and I understand that. And, yeah, it's hard to jam 2025 recruiting problems into a 1990s mindset because they're just different. It's a whole different ball game when it comes to recruiting.
Dude, listen, I'm emotionally detached, at least much more than the average person that listens to this show, and we love you. And I just can't imagine when you as we're sitting here recording the show, Pete Nako's got a story about Tennessee entering the mix for a transfer wide receiver from Cal. And then it says Miami and Virginia Tech have also been factors in this guy's recruitment. And it's like, what? Like, do they have an infinite amount of money down there in Coral Gables right now? They're seemingly on everybody.
Yeah.
It's very disheartening. And another thing I was thinking about as we were talking about this, I probably shouldn't, go off the path too much because we got all these questions, but we're not going to get to all of them. But at what point, when you think about Cam Brooks and you're getting money and negotiating, Corey, at least at the NFL level, you're somewhat insulated as the head coach because it's your GM. Right? So your GM and the money people are talking to the agent who then relays everything to the player. And I know a lot of these players have representatives, but man, I just feel like there has to be some level of residual resentment between one or more parties, even when a guy threatens to leave but then sticks around. Because at some point, Mike Norvell is asked his opinion on this, right? This is not, Derek Ray is not the guy that ultimately makes the decision on these things. It was Joe Shane who was like, we're going to let Saquon walk. It wasn't what's my guy's the head coach for the Giants? Dayball. Like Dayball was like, yeah, go ahead, let him leave. Like the GM makes a decision. You as a coach are insulated from it. I just wonder when they've got all these guys that probably were trying to get more money from them, but ended up sticking around after all. Like you have that you have to have that in the back of your head, and that's going to affect the entire dynamic of these teams moving forward as we sit here in this crazy in between without regulations.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, I just keep saying this. We'll see. The House settlement makes it a little more solid. Puts some parameters up, some guardrails where this isn't like every kid's a free agent every year. Hopefully there'll be some. But yes, it's I don't know what Norvell thinks of Marquise and Douglas hopping in the portal then hopping out. I don't know what he thought about Farmer and Peyton doing it last year. I don't know if they have ever officially went in the portal, but they have both announced they were going in the portal. I think DJ Lundy did too. These are all money grabs. These are all guys that are trying to Derek McClendon themselves right off not last year, but Derek McClendon, asked for more money and ended up on a 4-8 Colorado team where he would have been a factor on a 13-0 football team. And I'm sure he regretted that. All for, I guess, a few more dollars, maybe. But anyway, but yes, I think there is some resentment and also in the NFL, man, there is a cap. Like Azareye'h Thomas knows exactly what he's going to get paid. The Jets, when they draft him, know exactly what he's going to cost. But college football, who knows? You might sign your quarterback for a $2 million deal, and then come springtime, he's asking for twice that. And now he's at UCLA.
Speaking of guys like Azareye'h Thomas, the NFL, we go to our guy S. Quinn 67. The Noles have had so many great draft picks over the years that went on to become NFL stars. My questions: which player on offense and defense have been the biggest surprises in their NFL careers by exceeding your expectations? Which two players missed your NFL expectations the most? Go Noles, S. Quinn 67, class of 1993. He had a really good question last week that he maybe should have won on. I don't know if we're calling this a makeup call, Corey, but I'm going to put the cameras on. I'm going to ask you to do what you do, please.
How about that? One more time. Yeah. Nailed it.
He knows what he's doing, everybody.
That's a generator starting. Not a Cummins generator, though, because you just push a button for them.
See, he knows. See, relax. Chill out, everybody. Yeah. Corey knows what he's doing. You know what to do. It is generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow on Instagram. Cummins Lifestyle is all one word. Up your recreational lifestyle, everybody. Whether it's the boat, the RV, your tailgating game, you need portable power, and there's nobody else out there that does it like Cummins. Check them out on their Instagram page. Cummins Lifestyle is all one word. The own and product line, top of the line, quiet, reliable, all the things you want from your generator. All right, Corey. This is a good one. I just feel like I'm going to be very prisoner of the moment. I almost should have prepped you on this, I feel like, because you might have been able to reach back into your archive and pulled out a name or two that I'd be like, oh, that's a good one. Because I feel like, I don't know, I gravitate towards the negative one. Let me try to think I would say Anton Smith in terms of exceed my expectations, because Anton ended up hanging around the NFL for 6 years or so, I want to say, maybe even more. And he obviously was towards the tail end of Bobby's run here, and I never expected him to go to the NFL based on what he did here, but the fact that he was able to go to the NFL and have a career that long might not be as big of a headline name. Is there anybody you can think of off the rip one on offense, one on defense that exceeded expectations?
I think Vince Williams is a really good answer. He was a guy that really wasn't appreciated much. He was on that 2012 defense that he split time with Telvin Smith, both very good NFL players, actually. And kind of just, I think he was a 5th or a 6th round pick. I think I was even surprised he was drafted. And then he played for almost a decade and was good. Not just a guy that was on the team, that was on special teams. He was a starting linebacker on good Pittsburgh Steelers football teams for almost a decade. So he comes to mind immediately, going way back to the 80s. Marion Butts was a guy that didn't do a whole lot at Florida State as far as running the ball. He played in the same backfield as like Edgar Bennett, Sammy Smith, and Dexter Carter. He was a big fullback. And then he gets to the Chargers, and I don't know if he wins Rookie of the Year, but he's a Pro Bowler. He runs for over 1,000 yards, I think at least 2 or 3 seasons. He was one of the leading rushers in the NFL. So those are 2 off the jump. And there's countless others, right? There's countless others. They've had hundreds of guys drafted. But those 2 guys immediately come to mind as guys that I wasn't necessarily thinking they were going to have long, extended NFL careers. And Anquan Bolden, what about him? 2nd round pick that's a borderline Hall of Famer?
Yeah, right, because especially when he started having to deal with the injuries.
But he was also so good so quickly in the NFL. Like, he set all those records, like fastest to 100 catches, fastest to 200 catches. We all knew Anquan was talented. We all knew he was good. I don't think any of us had an inkling that he was that good, because that was remarkable. I
think his rookie season, his first game, he went completely nuts.
Yeah, he had
and receptions for 217 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Nobody saw that coming, and a lot of that had to do with maybe not great quarterback play when he was there, and he also got hurt, which would have been his junior year or his 3rd year at Florida State. He got hurt, but yeah, man, he was an incredible NFL player.
Oh, what about Brad Johnson?
Yeah, that might be the answer. Backup quarterback, like he started, I think maybe 5 games at Florida State, lost his job to Casey midway through 1990 season, then started an emergency 1 game in 91, and then ends up playing in the league for 12 years, winning a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's a really good one too. There's a lot more of these than you think. I know there's some ones you want to swing negative, which I agree with too on, I'm sure, a few of these. But there are a lot of positives, like guys that barely got drafted or you wouldn't thought would get – that weren't going to have great NFL careers because they weren't incredible in college, and they end up having really good, long NFL careers.
What about Ron Simmons? How come that didn't work out?
I don't know.
Papa.
I don't know.
I think
he was kind of banged up by the time he was done at Florida State.
Yeah.
He made a lot of money in professional sports, though.
He did, yeah, in wrestling. Yeah, I don't want to name. I apologize to Mr. Simmons, aka Farouk, to a lot of the kids out there. I don't want to name names, but I mean, pretty much anybody that was on the 2013 national title team. I shouldn't say pretty much anybody, but those guys would be my first picks for like disappointing. And I can't believe it didn't work out for so many of those guys. Like I thought all of them were going to be bona fide Pro Bowl fringe kind of guys, and for so many never ended up being that way. But if I ever see them around town or anywhere else in life, first drinks on me, and a big hug if they're down.
Yeah, I think Rashad to me is the biggest one out of that group. Jernigan too, but Jernigan was really good, and I don't know if it was injuries or what. He was good. I think for the Ravens, right?
Correct.
2nd round pick, and was very good early on in his career, and then I don't know if he just lost the love for the sport or got hurt. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he was out of the league too quickly for my taste. And then Rashad Green was out of the league after 2 years, and I just thought that guy was going to play in the league for a decade. And another answer on the negative side at that same position, you have to include Peter Warrick. I mean, he's one of the best college football wide receivers that's ever lived, and it just didn't translate to the NFL like we thought it would, although injuries played a part in that too.
See, I actually looked him up when this question came up because I was like, I'm well aware that the whole thing for P-Dub was like the injuries happened. But man, he played 4 seasons where he caught 51, 70, 53, and 79. So like he had like a run there. Like I always thought that he almost like he was a never was kind of thing where he never fulfilled, I think, his vast potential. He was on a bad Bengals team. I don't even know who the quarterback was in 2000. Achilles Smith, who knows?
Yeah.
But the fact that he caught 70 balls, he caught 79 in 2003 for 819 and 7 scores. And then that next year he got hurt in 2004, and then he just never was able to really like capture the greatness.
Never became the game breaker that you thought he was going to be at that level, because he was literally almost indescribable in college how good he was.
Can you say Jameis?
Sure.
Missed expectations?
Yeah, because he didn't turn out to be a star. He made one Pro Bowl, and that was after a couple of guys sat out. I mean, he did have a 5,000-yard season with 30 touchdowns, Aslan. With also, I don't know if you remember, he also had 30 interceptions. It was the first 30-30 5,000 season in NFL history. So he's always had that. But he's not. I wouldn't classify him as a bust. He's not like a Ryan Leaf bust.
No.
And he had a better career than Mariota, and that was the debate going into that. So he won that battle at least. But yeah, he never materialized into a champion and a All-Pro, Pro Bowl. He was in a Pro Bowl one year, but he wasn't an All-Pro, top 5 quarterback ever. And I thought he would be. It just didn't. It never shaped up. It just kept turning the ball over.
Last one, maybe a positive one to go on. What about Javon Walker? I know he was only here briefly, but
yeah.
He had a 1,300-yard season. He had over 1,000-yard season in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, sure. He was
a first-round pick, though. So,
and when he was healthy at Florida State those last 2 years, he was really good. It was just hard for him to get healthy, and then he had a huge Gator Bowl, and would have had a huge 2000 season, I think, but sprained his ankle early on in that season and missed like a month or a month and a half, and then unfortunately he might have dropped a huge pass in the 2000 national championship game against Oklahoma that I'll never forget, because that was going to be a 75-yard touchdown, but he dropped it. What are you going to do? But yeah, he had a good NFL. Look, there's literally thousands of them.
Yes.
Martin Mayhew, Leroy Butler was a second-round pick and is in the NFL Hall of Fame. Like, again, he was thought of highly because he was a second-round pick, but I don't think anybody watching Leroy Butler thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and he turned into a Hall of Famer. So they've had a number of them. So yeah, that's Vince Williams. I'm glad that one came to mind though, because that
Good
was
job.
one of the all-timers that I just I thought I was like that. I just never appreciated, I guess, how good he was when he was at Florida State, and he ended up being a really good linebacker for almost a decade in the NFL.
Yeah. Shout out to Bobby Hart, who I think was still in the league last year too, for hanging around for a long while. All right, that's a good one. Thank you to our guy Esquin67. He'll get entered into a drawing next week for all of our monthly winners from the month of April. Again, go to warchant.com, enter your question. If it's the best one, you get entered into a drawing for some free Cummins gear at the end of the month, and then a grand prize drawing at the end of the year for a portable generator. Yeah, like a Cummins portable generator. It's incredible. Even I don't have one of those. We can all aspire to greatness, though. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. We'll try to integrate the leftover questions here. I shouldn't say leftovers, just, the ones that we weren't able to get to probably for Monday's program. Just due to life and such, this will be the last program of the week, everybody. As such, we need to talk about baseball, and we got questions in the mailbag. We got questions, plural. First off, our guy Up North, Noles guy, just want to say thanks for grinding in the more quiet phases for a football-based site like Warchant. As a kid of the 90s, I just grew up playing and following whatever sport was in season, so I really enjoy when you guys talk about hoops, softball, baseball, and the related message boards on the TC are a really fun way for a guy like me hiding away in Big Ten country where they do value hoops in a big way, but baseball, softball are complete and total afterthoughts at the college level, unless someone like Link brings Notre Dame to national relevancy. So hearing the staff recall various names of our baseball teams over the 90s and the aughts is a lot of fun for me. All right, the issues we're having in baseball. Thank you, by the way, Up North Noles guy. Appreciate the sentiment. Very nice of you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The issues we have in baseball behind the dish and with an unreliable bullpen are pretty glaring at this juncture. When do we start worrying about the inability to recruit, develop, and manage pitching? Micah Posey has a good resume. This is only his third year, so I'm not trying to be overly critical. Just wondering. Best of luck to the boys on the diamond. And then Jim B, 2356. I've never seen this person post at all. This is their first ever post, that's why. October 2nd, 2024. They joined. They waited this long to post. Wake up. After suffering through the baseball series at Louisville, I'm wondering, is the bullpen going to be the Achilles heel that keeps us from going to Omaha? Can y'all please talk me out of my despair, or does misery find we make good company? All right, so lots of stuff about the bullpen, Micah Posey.
Yeah.
I am worried about the bullpen. It'd be silly to not worry about the bullpen, but to your point, Corey, there's been so many. Every team's got holes. I like this offense. I like this lineup. I like your 2 starters. And if you can get to a super regional, especially, that makes it that much more valuable. But yeah, who knows? I mean, if you inexplicably lose a game in a regional that you're hosting, then you're going to have to definitely go to your bullpen in that game. But there's some time here, and there's some really big series coming up. This one against Clemson, obviously. They're going to close the season out at home against North Carolina. So there's opportunities for some of these guys because, again, they need 1 or 2 righties, they need 1 or 2 lefties. It's not overly complicated. We've seen so many guys fail, for lack of a better term. But if Kinnear and Joe Charles are your right-handed guys, you're like, okay, we're good. And then if Lauk can find something, I don't know who else would be a lefty arm, but we're talking about 3 or 4 guys that they just need to rise up. So it's not asking for the world.
No, it's not. It's not asking for the world, but it's asking for something you haven't seen yet. But
in glimpses, though,
like consistently.
yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You've seen like there hasn't been a better relief performance all year, I don't think, than Prescott in Miami. But then Prescott other times looks like he's just throwing batting practice, like 96, but batting practice. They just hit the crap out of some of his pitches. But against Miami, he was just nasty and almost unhittable. It's good to know that's in there. Ben Barrett's had some nice moments. Kinnear has had some nice moments and horrible moments. They all have. Charles has been the best. Abraham's been pretty good until this last weekend. But, look, they weren't good in the bullpen last year. And I will say this, man, when you look around the country, there's not a lot of college baseball fan bases that are excited about their bullpen. That it's like a strength of their team. Now, it's not maybe the weakness that Florida State's is, but also they might not have the number 1 pitcher in college as a starting pitcher.
And the best shortstop in the country in their lineup.
Legitimately. Yeah, they might, so that you have strengths that other teams don't have. You have a 1-2 starting pitching duo that's as good as any in the country, including a guy that might be the first overall pick. So you can't have everything in college baseball. I mean, it'd be nice, but and I want to say Tennessee does, but Tennessee's lost 3 of 4 series. They also are completely capable of winning the College World Series again, as is Georgia, as is LSU, as is maybe Florida State. I just think it's imperative they win at home. They win these 2 series coming up. So I wrote a quick story about it on Tuesday. They're right now they're number 5 in the RPI, number 5 or number 6.
6, that's not much. Sorry.
Clemson is 7, North Carolina is 8, something like that. So you win and so you play Clemson at home this weekend. Win 2 of 3 there, and then you got North Carolina, who will theoretically be a top 10 RPI team when they come 2 weeks later.
Well, they got Cal in between that.
But after Cal, just win 2 of 3 at Cal, and then go and win 2 of 3 against North Carolina. If you can just win these series, you don't need to sweep. Your RPI will be high enough that you're going to be a top 8 national seed, and I think these bullpen guys pitch better at Hauser. I think there will be an electricity in the air, and that's really I think that's your best path. I think there'll be a regional host anyway, but a super regional host is your best chance to get there. Like I don't even last year's team. I don't know that they're winning at LSU last year or winning at I don't know. Name another team that hosted. I don't know that they're winning on the road last year. I just think you get to Hauser, be a top 8 national seed. You can absolutely get to Omaha. There have been worse Florida State teams than this that got to Omaha. And again, if Jamie Arnold is Jamie Arnold, man, that's a nice feather in your cap going into any series. That man, you feel pretty good about one of those games. You're going to have the pitching advantage in the first 2 games of any series. It would just be much more beneficial if it was at home, and then you get to Omaha and hope you get lucky. But yes, the bullpen is not a strength, and it probably will come back to bite them in the postseason, quite frankly, like it did last year. They didn't have enough pitching depth last year, which is why John Abraham had to start. I think Andrew Armstrong started a game in Omaha, and then John Abraham started a game in Omaha because Cam Leiter was hurt and somebody else wasn't good. And then this year, Evan Crest is hurt, and right now Wes Mendez isn't any good. So that's the key, right, Aslan, to wrap this up real quick? If Mendez can find it or find a better role to serve this team, maybe he could be a difference maker. Maybe he's a guy you can count on, a lefty out of the bullpen that gets you 3 innings in June, 3 tough innings in June to win a game for you.
Connor Holtz is another guy that played really well in Omaha, and he's been hurt for like the last month and a half. And if he can get right and if he can get back on the bump, that's another arm. He's a lefty as well, though. But just, yeah, the more options you have. But yeah, for sure, again, I keep saying about it, sound like a broken record, but like what Connor Whitaker became last year was such a valuable piece of the puzzle for them. Like if Evan Kress can become that for you, once you get to the postseason, at least. Like, I mean, Connor was doing that throughout the season, but well, yeah, once you get to the postseason, like, yeah, if you're playing, I mean, I don't know, you probably they're gonna host. There'll be a top 16 seed. You probably throw Vellini in the 1-4 match, right?
Yeah,
and then if you can get Arnold and Mendez to combine for a win in the second game to where you make it into the championship game of your regional. Then I don't know, you Johnny Holstaff, or do you want to keep, do you need Mendez to be the starter in that game? I guess it's all going to depend on how the rest of the bullpen does in Vellini's and Jamie Arnold's.
The good news is though is that you've had really kind of this last weekend felt like a super regional. You didn't perform well the other 2 days, but Jamie Arnold pitched his butt off. That's good to see on the road, especially because if you're going to win a national championship, he's going to have to pitch well away from Hauser. And he's done that for most of this year. He's been good to great kind of all year. But then also, like, these next 2 home series are super regional series. This is a great blueprint. Just assume that whoever you're going to be playing, if you get to a super regional, is going to be the caliber of a Clemson or North Carolina. They're going to be really good. You got kind of lucky last year, and UConn was a decent team, but you got kind of lucky that you played a UConn in a super regional. But you probably won't get that lucky this year. And so if you get to a super regional, you will probably be playing an SEC team that just missed out on a national host. And then so you're going to be playing an Auburn or an Alabama or a Georgia or an LSU or somebody like that at home. They're as good as North Carolina and Clemson. This is a great litmus test, these next 2 home series weekends, to see how Link handles it. And if Mendez is the number 3 guy against North Carolina, if he rights the ship, maybe he pitches really well against Clemson and starts he wasn't horrible at Louisville after the first 5 batters. But yeah, so I was just looking at the Baseball America rankings. Jamie Arnold's the number 1 overall pick in their mock draft. Alex Lodis is 36, and Max Williams is 91. And then that doesn't even account Bailey and Farrow and the other guys in your Carnes, the other guys in your lineup that have done pretty good things. Yeah, Harrelson for sure. So it's like you've got some things that other teams would like. You just don't have a great bullpen.
Florida State they were the 8th seed last year.
Yeah, that's why they had to play flipping Tennessee in that opener.
Yeah. Oklahoma's who was the 9 seed that would have came to Tallahassee, but UConn took them out. So
that's right. Yeah.
All right, last one on the way out. Our guy N.E. Seminole. I did not see this video. It was like 7 minutes, so I've got ADHD, but I wonder if you did, Corey. The John Gruden video?
No, I saw it on Twitter that he opened some boxes from Link and Norvell, but I don't know exactly what was in there.
I just want to say, for my post, I've not checked to see if anybody else mentioned this, but there's a great clip of John Gruden receiving a box of swag from Coach Norvell and Coach Jarrett. To say that Gruden gets fired up is an understatement. He gets fired up, and his knowledge of past players he mentions for football and baseball is impressive. He also mentions how powerful the FSU brand is. If you have not seen it, take a look at it, as it is worth it. No spark from me this time. Just wanted to say hi, go Noles. And our guy Seminole Sam, keeper of the Sod Cemetery, also posted and said it was a fantastic kind of watch to really drive home, just how lucky we are to have this be our favorite team, our alma mater, or however you've fallen in love with Florida State. Because, however low the valleys may be, those peaks are really high, and one of them's not that far behind us, and I'm sure the next one's not too far ahead of us.
Right, well said, Aslan. It's not going to be a valley forever. You're not going to go 2-10 every year. You are not relegated to Vanderbilt status or Boston College status. I know Boston College beat Florida State, but they haven't mattered since Doug Flutie threw a Hail Mary 41 years ago. So, or since Geno Hayes intercepted Matt Ryan.
That's right.
It's the last time Boston College mattered. Hall of Famer Matt Ryan, probably, maybe.
I hope not.
I know, me too. But still, if he'd won that Super Bowl, I think he gets in. But you know what? He didn't. Yes, well said. You are reminded, especially after a 2-10 year, and I think Florida State fans need to be reminded, man. you are, by and large, a very, very, very lucky fan base. And I know right now you would do anything to switch places with Georgia. I get it. I grew up in the state of Georgia. I have a ton of friends who are Georgia fans. I went to Georgia. Trust me, from like 1983 to 2015, basically inconsequential.
In the
For
wilderness.
30-something years. There were people that, just think of like going 3 decades of your life without ever really competing for a national championship, without ever being in the hunt. Georgia was an afterthought, essentially. They had a couple years with Rick, 02, 07, where they got close. But by and large, nobody thought about Georgia as a nationally relevant program for 30-something years, legitimately. Yeah. So you're okay. You were just in the playoff conversation 18 months ago and got hosed. Like, it can get better. It will get better. I don't know if Norvell's the one that will make it better, but it will get better at Florida State.
Not to be a hater.
Oh, here we go. I thought that was a good way to end the show, Aslan.
How does John Gruden get all this free stuff? It's when you see all these celebrities on cribs like brag about all this free, like, you're rich, you don't need free stuff.
Okay.
But I get it. He's got a platform, and it's cool to have his, your school's gear on these videos to get all these watches, or views. But we need to get Corey an office set up. Link, how about you send Corey some cool swag for his office? And let me have something.
Mike, I saved your job back in 2021 with that question.
Shoot.
Heavens to Betsy. Give me something. I'll take anything. I'll take a signed, I don't know, man, flipping Mackenzie Milton helmet. Just get me anything.
All right, that's a wrap for us, but not warchant.com. We're open all the time. We're doing stuff, content. Portal is open. Guys on campus. Well, not portal's not open. Guys are on campus from the portal. They're being entertained. We'll see if they can get some commitments done. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Plenty more stuff going on. We'll have the Link Jarrett replay Zoom later on this afternoon over on our YouTube channel. I'm sure we'll have some sort of story. I shouldn't put pressure on you there, Corey, but maybe we'll have a story. A clash of top 10 teams at Hauser this weekend.
It's a big series. Big series. Come out and enjoy it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. It's been Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.